everybody, and welcome to the second video in which we are going to talk about materials inside Unreal Engine 4. In case you haven't checked out the first video, go ahead and check it out, and this is basically a continuation of that same video. So what we have here is our static mesh with the master material that we built here applied to one of the IDs. If we open up the master material, we're going to see that this master material is actually just 3 textures plugged into the nodes for the master material. And we also have at the side constant 3 vector node and 2 constant 1 nodes. So all in all, this is a very simple master material that we can use for our scene. What we want to do now is try and basically make it so that whenever we change something in our material, we can see the change happening right away without having to press the Save This Asset button and wait for the compile to finish. Because as you saw in the first video, for example, if we have this constant 3 vector plugged in here, and like you just saw, if I want to see the changes done, I have to compile this or save the asset. That takes a bit of time, and then as soon as the calculations are done, we can see the changes here. But that is not a very effective way of doing changes and not very intuitive. So let's see how we can change that. So for now, I'm gonna basically close this, and I'm gonna go over to my material. And I'm going to right click on it and click on the first option where it says create material instance. What this is going to do is going to create an instance of the original material. And if you're coming from a Max background, you're going to know that an instance in Max is basically something that's a copy of the original, but it will retain a link to the options or the parameters of the original. So if we change something on the original, the instance will change as well. So for this, I'm going to rename this to MI for material instance / and go, well, let's just call it color. All right, so I'm going to double click on this MI color, and right away we see that we get a totally different look here. Now I have these details on the side. We have previewing, instance parent, and here I can see that this is the current or the MI color, and the parent is the M master material. But on the side, we don't really have any options that we can change or any parameters that we can change. So what's the point of creating a material instance if we can't change any of the original options that we have in the master material? Well, that is the interesting part, because if we open up the master material again, and I'm going to make it big like this, this is basically where you have to think about this as a coding lesson. And what that means is that simply by having all of these plugged in here, we have all of the data in the master material. But if we want this to transfer over to the instance, we need to do some changes, namely to whatever that we might want to change. For example, let's click on this thing. And this is basically controlling the color. I'm going to right click on it and choose the first thing where it says convert to parameter. As soon as we do this, this thing is going to change. Now, first thing here, you have the parameter name. So I'm going to name this color. Then the second thing, you have a group. In this group, I'm actually going to click here and name this general / info. All right, enter and hit save. Now, what this did is basically, as soon as it's done compiling, it's going to port all of the information from here to the instance material. As you can see here now, we have a parameter groups, and in here we have general info. This general info is taken directly from here where it says group. So let's go and rename it without the slash. So general info, save, and go back to our MI color. And now you can see that in here I have a tab called general info. And underneath it, we have this color tab. So I'm going to move this to the side. For now, select my original asset. And instead of having the master material applied to it, I'm going to select the instance material and drag it in over here. So as you can see, nothing changes because at the moment, our color here hasn't changed a bit at all. So it's same as the master material. But now I have the ability to click on this checker box and basically turn on the ability to choose or click on this thing. So once I click and I click anywhere, you can see that that change is instantly done or instantly made to whatever we have that instance or instance material applied to. So if I just move it around, I get instant feedback. Now this works great for something like this, but also what you can do here is you can add in extra information. For example, this is just for the color. If I don't want to change the color, or for example, maybe I don't have a color, maybe I have a texture like this one. Let's plug this back in. Right click on it and go to convert to a parameter. In this case, this parameter is going to be part of the general info. Again, as you can see, now we have this thing as a group because we already created it. And just rename this to whatever you want. In my case, it would be a texture color or base, texture base. Hit save. And if we go back to the instance, we're going to notice that now in here we have the ability, instead of using the color picker, we can just click on the texture base. And now from here directly, I can click and choose any texture that I might want to apply to this thing. As I click it, you will notice that right away this thing changes. I don't have to hit save. I don't have to click on anything else. I just select it and I get instant feedback. So this is one of the great things about using instances, is that once you create it, you can put any info that you might want in here. For example, another thing, especially when you're using textures, is if you want to use a bit of tiling, because as it is like this, the material is okay, but what happens if we want to have a bit of tiling, or we want to have a smaller tile or bigger tile? How do we do that? If we go back to 3ds Max and we open up our material editor, this is the regular one, not the slate one. If we want to basically tile any texture, we would have to go is diffuse, put a bitmap. Any bitmap would work, but for now I'm going to deselect, so I'm not adding any bitmap. Here we have this tiling. So basically for the U and V, if we put in a number, we get an easier way to tile whatever texture we choose. But when we are in Unreal, we don't have that option in our texture node. So in order to get the ability to tile it, what we would have to do is very simple actually. The only thing that we would have to do is go over to this left side on our texture nodes over here, and you're going to see this thing where it says UVs. So what you're going to do here is you're going to click and drag outwards a node, and here just type in texture coordinate. Now this thing is going to add in a new node. This new node basically has 1 and 1 for the U and V tiles. And also you have a coordinate index. We're not going to touch this. And you can even mirror the UNVs. But in this case, for example, if we just want to increase the number of tiles that we have here, instead of having just one by one, we can put 2, and that's same as doing it like so, 2 by 2. And the thing here is that if I go ahead and just save this as it is, you're going to notice a bit of a change in our material over here, but it's not going to be perfect. The reason being because now it's tiling, but it's only tiling the diffuse map. What we want to do is make sure that when we start tiling, we want to have this same tile be applied to the normal, the roughness, metallic, all of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this and plug it in into all of the UV channels for all of these textures. So once I recompute this or recompile, now you're going to see that this texture is really looking like we want it to be. Oops. Let's put this down, or even better yet, put it to the side. There we go. Now we have a way to get this thing to tile. All right, so since we saw how all of these things work, let's go ahead and create a new material here. So right click, create a new material, and do all of this one more time, but create a few more different instances. So for this, I'm going to go m_master and call this plastic. So open up this thing. We want to have a way to control the color. So hold down 3, or you can just pull out a constant 3 vector from here, plug it into the base color. And this is going to control our color. Now I want this to be able to be used as an instance, so I'm going to right click, convert it to a parameter, and then put it in a group, call it main properties. And this parameter is going to be color. There we go. Now we want to have a different parameter that is going to control the metallic. So click here, or just hold down 1 and click so we get a constant. We drag this thing into the metallic, right click on it, convert it to a parameter as well. So as you can see, if it's a parameter, then all of the information will be transferred into any instance that you make out of this original material. So again, I'm going to make sure this is from the main properties and call this metallic value. I want to copy this over for the roughness as well. So copy paste, Control C, Control V, plug it into the roughness, and call it, instead of metallic value, just call it, well, don't delete it. Let's go backspace and roughness value, like so. All right, awesome. Save this. And now from here, from the mask, create a material instance, and let's call this white plastic. All right, select this, apply the white plastic material, double click on it, and now from here, from the main properties, I want to turn on the color. From here, choose a white color, like so. We don't want to have a metallic value, so it's 1 as it is such. We want to give it a bit of a roughness, so 0.2 would make it a very rough. 0.5, nope, 0.2 was better, or 0.25, there we go. This is a nice look for a plasticky look. All right, there we go. And we just got that nice looking white plastic. we can simply make a duplicate out of this. So duplicate, call it red plastic. Go in, simply click on the color, change it to whatever you want it, click OK, hit save, and you get the idea. We have an easy way of creating a lot of different versions of this master material. And if we want to get in or put in more information for it, we just go in and change the data that we have in here. So what you want to take out of this from this video is basically that when you are creating your master material, if you put in any nodes from the side, and there are many of them, by just plugging them into the master material, you will change the output of that material. But if you change or if you convert them into an actual constant, then you will be able to basically come in here and or come into your instance materials and change the parameters here. All right, so another thing that I would like to just mention here, but not go too deep into it, is that basically when you create any material over here, it will be created in a set shading model. And here you have some interesting options that you might we will probably take a look at them in a future video. But as you can see, a lot of these options in here are grayed out. The reason for this is that simply this shading model that we have here, or the default lit shading model, doesn't support these options. But if we go over and click, we can see that here we have some different shading models. We have a subsurface, clear coats, two-sided foliage, hair, cloth, eye, different shading materials. So in case we want to have subsurface scattering, we would choose this thing, and right away we can see that now we have the ability to choose opacity. If we take it over to a clear coat, this is going to give us a different look and different options that we can change here. So each of these is going to be affecting your material in a different manner. Another very interesting thing is this two-sided foliage, which is shading model specifically made for foliage, and I'm pretty sure that in the near future I will have another video about this. But this is basically going to give you the ability to create a two-sided material that is going to allow you to have a material that is going to let a light flow through it. So for now, I'm going to go back to default lit. And here you have a blending mode, in which is opaque. If you want to have a masked, you can have this thing, or translucent. Masked is basically going to give you the ability to use opacity mask. Translucent is going to turn off the metallic and roughness. It's going to give you the ability to use opacity. This is kind of okay if you have a plane, but as you can see, different blending modes and different shading models, and a lot of different plugins from the side will lead to creating some very interesting materials. All right, but for now, that would be it. I hope you guys had fun and you learned something new. If you do have any questions, leave them below. I will meet you in the comment section of the video. If you did enjoy the video, then please click the like button. And if you're not subscribed, now is a great time to do so. As always, thank you very much for watching. I will see you all in the next video, and do leave me a comment about what you think about Unreal videos, as I really do want to hear what you guys think. Anyways, again, I will see you all guys in the next video. Bye bye.